Okay, let's just get right into it. There are honestly few things more frustrating than running a massive load of laundry, opening that dryer door, and pulling out a heavy, damp pile of clothes. Right? I've been repairing appliances for decades, and today I'm gonna be your knowledgeable friend right over your shoulder. We're gonna break down exactly how you can diagnose and fix a dryer that runs perfectly fine, but just completely refuses to get hot. First things first, we need absolute clarity on your symptoms. Is your dryer spinning but blowing cold air? Are your clothes still damp, or is the dryer taking too long to dry even after 2 full, agonizing cycles? Look, if your dryer runs but has no heat, don't panic. I promise we are going to address and solve every single one of these symptoms step by step. And no, you absolutely do not need an engineering degree to figure this out. You just need a logical approach. And honestly, here's the best part. We are going to escalate through this diagnosis exactly like a professional technician would. We're starting with the $0 entirely free behavioral checks and simple maintenance steps before we even think about spending a single dime on replacement parts. You'd be amazed at how often the solution literally costs absolutely nothing. So here's our roadmap for today's explainer. 1. Safety and workspace preparation. 2. Phase 1, $0 checks. 3. Vent exhaust deep clean. 4. Phase 2, panel removal. And finally, 5. Component testing. All right, step 1, safety and workspace preparation. Now, before you even think about grabbing a screwdriver or popping off a panel, we have to establish absolute clarity on safety. We're dealing with high voltage electricity here and, depending on your setup, potentially gas lines. So do not skip this step under any circumstances. You must completely remove the power cord from the wall outlet. Don't just twist the dial to off, physically unplug the thing. And if you've got a gas model, find the gas supply valve on the wall or floor behind the unit and turn that handle so it sits completely perpendicular to the pipe. That locks the gas off. We never, ever work on an energized or active appliance. Okay, with the power completely killed, let's prep your workspace. You know, you might encounter trapped lint, huge dust bunnies, or even residual water spilling out when you open things up or pull that vent hose off. So prep your area by just tossing a dry towel on the floor below the machine and sliding a shallow tray underneath the back edge. Taking 30 seconds to do this now is going to save you from ruining your laundry room floor later. Moving right along to step 2, phase 1, $0 checks. Now that we're safe, let's jump into our first phase of diagnostics. We're looking at the completely free fixes that solve this problem a surprising amount of the time. First, verify your dryer hasn't been accidentally bumped into eco or air fluff mode, because those cycles actually use room temperature air by design. Second, head over to your home's main electrical panel. Electric dryers actually run on a dual-leg 240-volt breaker, which means there are 2 separate circuits inside that switch. One leg spins the motor and the other leg powers the heat. It is incredibly common for just the heating leg to trip. So flip that double breaker completely off and then firmly back on. Finally, take your lint skein to the sink. Fabric softener sheets leave this invisible, waxy film on the screen that totally chokes off airflow. Take some hot water and a nylon brush and scrub that lint trap until water runs straight through it without pooling. Now, here is a bit of a secret weapon that can absolutely save the day. Check the back of your machine or look inside near the burner tube for a physical reset button. On quite a few models out there, if the thermal cutoff trips from just a minor temporary overheat, you don't even have to change a part. You can literally just press this little physical button until you hear it click, and boom, you'll have heat again instantly. Okay, step 3, vent exhaust deep clean. If those quick checks didn't get your heat back, we have to look at the undisputed #1 cause of poor heating and blown thermal fuses, a clogged exhaust duct. Learning how to clean a dryer vent is absolutely crucial because a dryer is basically just a giant moisture pump. With a clean vent, hot, humid air escapes smoothly, allowing our clothes to dry efficiently. But with a clogged vent, that airflow is entirely choked off. The moisture just stays trapped inside, the internal heat spikes dangerously high, and the dryer safety switches purposely kill the heating circuit to prevent a house fire. I mean, if your vent is blocked, replacing parts won't help you at all, because the brand new parts will just blow out again immediately. So let's get it cleared out. Slowly pull the dryer away from the wall, but be really careful not to crush the hose while you do it. Detach the flexible hose from the back. Then, grab your vacuum and clear out both the port on the dryer and the duct going into the wall. You might actually need one of those specialized flexible brush kits to get really deep into the wall duct. And here is a massive pro tip for you. Never ever use screws to hold these vent tubes together. The lint catches on those internal screw threads and builds a dam over time. Always use aluminum foil tape instead. Finally, once everything is reconnected, run the dryer on a heat cycle, walk outside your house to the exterior vent hood, and physically hold your hand there. You need to feel strong, hot airflow exiting the house. Next up, step 4, phase 2, panel removal. If your vent is crystal clear, your breakers are good, and you're still blowing cold air, we're officially moving to phase 2, which means opening the machine to test the internal components. Getting the back or top panel off usually just requires a 1/4-inch nut driver or a basic Phillips screwdriver, but I do want to give you a few mechanical cautions here. First, do not just yank on those plastic control panels. Gently pry the retaining tabs with a flathead screwdriver so you don't snap the clips. Second, before you unplug any wire harnesses, pull out your phone and take a photo so you know exactly how they go back together later. Third, stick your removed screws onto a strip of masking tape in the exact order you pull them out. And pay close attention here. Pointy screws go into the sheet metal frame, while the blunt screws go into the plastic fan housings. Definitely don't mix those up. All right, step 5, component testing. With the panels safely removed and the machine still completely unplugged, we're going to use a cheap digital multimeter to figure out exactly which part has failed us. To do this, we are testing for something called continuity. Continuity simply means there's a continuous, unbroken electrical path running through a component. Set your meter to the continuity setting. It usually looks like a little Wi-Fi symbol, or maybe a horseshoe for ohms. Touch the 2 metal probes together. If the meter beeps or the screen drops to 0, the electrical path is good. If it stays completely silent or shows a 1, or maybe an OL for open line, the path is broken. That means the part is dead and needs replacing. Now, the absolutely crucial point when testing your thermal fuses and thermostats is this. You must pull at least 1 wire connector off the part before testing it. If you leave both wires attached, your meter might actually read the electrical path of the entire dryer and give you a false positive. So with 1 wire off, place 1 meter probe on each terminal of the fuse. If the meter beeps, the fuse is good. If it's silent, the fuse is blown, and you're looking at a dryer thermal fuse replacement. Thankfully, a blown thermal fuse is a super cheap $5 to $20 part. And remember, a blown fuse is almost always caused by that clogged vent we just talked about cleaning. Now, if all the fuses test good, locate the metal heating element housing. We're going to do a dryer heating element test by checking its terminals for continuity, just like we did the fuse. A good element will usually give a reading of around 10 to 50 ohms of resistance. Next, grab a flashlight, shine it inside, and visually inspect those coiled inner wires. If you see a physical break in the coiled wire, a burnt spot, or your meter reads infinite resistance, your heating element is shot. You also want to check for a grounded element. You do this by touching 1 probe to a terminal and the other to the metal casing itself. If it beeps there, it means the element has warped and shorted out against the metal housing. A bad element just needs to be swapped out with an exact match, which you can find based on the model number sticker located right around your dryer's door frame. Look at that. By walking through this escalating diagnostic process yourself, from simply resetting a breaker and cleaning a vent, to safely using a multimeter and swapping out a $40 heating element or a $10 fuse, you've accomplished something fantastic. That number right there on the screen, that is the average, absolute minimum service call-out fee you just saved yourself by not calling a repair company to come do it for you. You have completely demystified this machine, proven that it's really just a box of simple, testable parts, and taken complete control of your home maintenance. So keep this momentum going. Never be afraid to logically diagnose a problem yourself. Now that you've confidently conquered the mechanics of a heavy-duty clothes dryer, I want you to ask yourself, what other intimidating appliance in your home are you perfectly capable of fixing next? Keep that curiosity alive, and happy fixing.